going on in your world?
Well, I'll tell you what's going on. We're going to have on in just a minute one of the odds makers from SuperBook.com, the sports book that has taken up residence at Camden Yards, the official sports book of the Baltimore Orioles. And we're going to be doing some stuff with them as we move forward. His name is John Murray. But first, I want to tell you that in addition to the Costas Inn, as everybody knows, they're a sponsor of these Zooms. We're also brought to you by the expert and award-winning AJ Michaels Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Home Performance. They'll improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. The AC season is upon us. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. And as promised, John Murray, one of the odds makers with SuperBook, joins us. And John, you're not just one of the odds makers at SuperBooks, you're one of the two co-hosts of the Odds Makers podcast, you and Jay Cornegay. Why don't you tell our viewers before we dig into some nuts and bolts where they can find that and how often you guys do your podcast?
Well, during football season, we usually do it once a week. It's a little more sparingly during the off season. We don't have a ton to talk about right now other than baseball. There are some big fights coming up. Once we get back into the National Football League, college football, we'll get back to a weekly schedule for that show. And we may be debuting some other SuperBook Sports podcasts and shows this fall. You can find them in the iTunes store. Search for the Odds Makers podcast.
All right. And as you told me the other day, or Jay told me a couple of weeks ago when we had him on, you also do sort of event stuff around big auto races, big golf tournaments, and the NCAA tournament, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. We have a big golf tournament we do here to promote the Super Contest, which we're taking entries for right now. That's where you pick 5 games a week against the NFL point spread, all 18 weeks with in-season contests in the middle of it, $1,000 buy-in to the Super Contest. And we do special events around the NASCAR race, which is here in Las Vegas in October, and the F1 race, which we're going to have in Las Vegas November 18th. First time we've had an F1 race in Las Vegas. That's going to be pretty cool.
Before I turn you over to Gary for a couple questions, I had Jay on about 3 weeks ago, and we talked about a little bit of the difference about SuperBook and some of the other names that are national known from their days as fantasy-only sites. But I did want to ask you, this legalized sports betting, has it exploded even wilder than you thought, John, all around the country? Is it beyond what you could have imagined, or you said, I knew this was going to be like crazy?
I knew it was going to be like this because everyone was betting on sports the entire time. Now it's just all out in the open. And I knew that the whole time because I've been betting on sports since I was a kid. Growing up in Northern Virginia, I went to high school in Washington, D.C., as you know.
Yeah.
I've known this the whole time. Didn't surprise me at all. Why else would anybody watch some of the games that the NFL puts out on a Thursday night or even a Monday night?
Bravo for saying that.
And it's the truth. I mean, I can remember being in college and there were some games that would start at noon Eastern that otherwise I would have no interest in, but there were reasons why I watched. I won't go any further than that. Yeah. Why else would you watch some of the nonsense that they put out there in some of these leagues if you didn't have an investment or a fantasy? I'm not a big fantasy person myself. Or fantasy rooting interest. People have been betting on these games the whole time. Now it's regulated. It's taxed. It's a good thing for the states.
Yeah.
So, John, I'm just going to put 2 and 2 together here. If you grew up in the Northern Virginia area, right?
I did.
Chances are you were a Redskins fan growing up, correct?
Oh, can we say that on the show? Can we say Redskins?
Well, they were.
Yeah.
Well, they
were the Redskins years ago.
I was watching a game a couple of years ago where they were talking about George Allen, and the graphic said former Commanders coach.
Oh.
And I was like, no, he wasn't. We had Washington Redskins season tickets in my family, which I think my dad kept them up until the time I left to go to college. or maybe a year or two after I went to college. But yeah, we were big Redskins fans, but we had a dog named LeVar in my house. I mean, we were big. Oh, unfortunately, just recently passed away a few years ago. Yeah, we were big Redskins fans. Dan Snyder pushed us away from that.
Yeah, as he did everybody. Yeah.
We
So-
really
so
stopped following the team.
Yeah. So, John, the reason why I bring it up is because, as you know, the NFL ratified the transfer now. Josh Harris now is the owner. So my question is, were there odds on who was going to buy the Commanders before it happened?
That'd be more of an offshore type of bet. We wouldn't be able to take wagering on that in Nevada, and we probably wouldn't want to anyways, because when you do these things that aren't decided on the field, somebody always gets the information. And it's bad for the bookmaker because somebody's coming in here and they know what's going to happen, and they'll make a wager with you. So we didn't have wagering on that. I'm just happy that it was anybody other than Dan Snyder, and that he's finally out.
Can I jump in, John, and ask
Yeah,
you,
of course.
from a karma standpoint, have the Redskins over/under win total gone up already?
Well, the Commanders, or whatever you guys call them, I call them the Redskins, whatever we call them, the Washington football team, their biggest problem this year is that division they're in.
Yeah.
That division is so good. Yeah. Philadelphia is loaded. Dallas, they still have Mike McCarthy to hold them back, but they've got a very good roster. And I look at the Giants. The Giants are actually a smart organization with smart people in charge now for the first time in a while. So I don't really see a reason why they would take a significant step back this season. So the Redskins are going to be held back by that division. It reminds me of the local team here, the Raiders. They're in the same spot where they've got to deal with Kansas City, the Chargers, and the Broncos.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know how Washington is going to take significant strides forward. I think this is going to be Ron Rivera's last season as head coach, because the new ownership group's probably going to want to bring in their own guy.
Yep.
And I think this will probably be it for Rivera. So I don't really see this being a good year for the Commanders, the Redskins, the football team.
Hey, John, you had mentioned, or Stan was talking about the explosion, betting now with mobile apps, phones, etc. You can do it anywhere, anytime. And that's true. But I want to talk about the explosion of the actual sports in your state, because now you've got the Raiders, you're going to have baseball, you've got the Knights, and what they've done in the NHL. You'll probably end up getting an NBA team sometime. So what's going on in your town right now in terms of ticket prices, excitement, fever, etc.?
A lot of excitement, bad traffic. There's so many venues now on the Strip, and they're talking about getting rid of the Tropicana and putting a baseball stadium in there. That's where the Oakland A's would play. I guess they'd be called the Las Vegas A's. We've got the F1 race here. The F1 race is going to be here in November. So there's all these street closures to make room for that. But look, it's great for the city. I'm only kidding. It's great for the city. It brings so many people out here. Take a look at the Raiders' home schedule this season. Look at the franchises that are playing games here in Las Vegas. Green Bay, New England, both New York teams are coming here. Pittsburgh is coming here for what I believe is a Sunday night game. It's awesome for the city. It brings so many people to Las Vegas. I went to the first ever Raiders home game with fans. It was a Monday night game a couple years ago against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes, sir. That's right. I remember. They came back on that.
I was lucky enough to go to that game. The Raiders won that game in overtime, and there was a lot of Ravens fans here. It's great for the city because it brings all these people here. It's an excuse to come to Las Vegas. And that's before we even talk about some of the college sporting events we have here. I went to the regional final in March. Gonzaga got crushed by UConn. And we've got the Pac-12 championship game here. We're going to have the college football national championship game here, I think in 2025 or 26. So and that's going to bring all these big college fan bases to Las Vegas as well. So it's great. It's great for the city. And it's great that people have finally recognized what I said earlier. Everybody was gambling anyway.
Yep.
So we might as well embrace it and make money off it.
John, getting back to SuperBook, obviously the king of sports betting is football. Is the NFL bigger than college football in totality, or because there's more college football teams, it brings in more money?
So we'll write more money on a Saturday. You just look at the weekend, just those 2 days. We'll write more money on Saturday than Sunday, because there's so many more games.
Yeah.
But if you look at the overall season, we'll write more money on the NFL because the playoff games in the NFL are so huge. And there's certainly no single event as big as the Super Bowl. So the NFL remains the king for us. We also do better on the NFL. You know, there's a lot of edges in college football, some of the smaller teams, maybe the division, what do they call Division II now? The FBS. There's some edges there for the bettors. Whereas in the NFL, the numbers are pretty accurate. It's tough for the bettors to beat the NFL because the pricing is very accurate. The NFL remains our most lucrative sport for sure, and the sport that we write the most money on.
What is surprising? What sport behind football would surprise us if you told us what either golf, boxing, UFC, what auto racing, what is big behind football?
Well, so after football is basketball, baseball, then hockey, but then you get out of the obvious sports, right?
Yeah.
UFC is the fastest growing sport for us. There's a noticeable difference in our handle on a Saturday when there's a UFC or no UFC or pay-per-view UFC. You can really see a difference in how much money we write. The UFC is a very fast growing sport for us. Soccer is very popular. English Premier League soccer is a very, very popular sport. It's growing, especially in the markets where we're on the East Coast, because those games start pretty early on here on the West Coast. But in the markets like we're in New Jersey, we're in Maryland, we plan to be in Virginia next month. We're talking about games at 10, 11 a.m., EPL games. We do good business on those.
I want to ask you one other question about boxing.
Sure.
And you tell me if I'm wrong. I've been a huge boxing fan. You and I met the other night at Camden Yards, and we compared a little notes. But boxing still has the scoring by the officials, where can often be a draw, where or disputed. Is UFC? Does that always come to a conclusion? Are there draws in any UFC fights?
There are, and I'll tell you guys this: the UFC, I think, has more issues with the judging.
Really?
Because the majority of their fights are 3-round fights.
Okay.
In a 3-round fight, if a couple of judges screw up one round, that can sway the whole fight. Where we're talking about boxing, a 10 or 12-round fight, it's less likely if one judge or two judges screw up one round, the right guy is still probably going to win. But in UFC, two judges get one round wrong, that can turn the winner into the loser like that. We got a lot of problems with that. But of course, we have to abide by whoever the judges say won, even if we don't agree with it. That's just it is what it is. It's part of the risk when you bet on a sport where there are judges determining the outcome.
Are those judges on UFC fights, are they as experienced as boxing judges?
It's a good question. The fights that are here in Nevada, I think the answer is yes. But the UFC likes to travel around the country. And sometimes you get these events. I'll just say North Carolina because they recently had one in Charlotte and I just happen to remember that. But the judges are probably not as experienced. When they go to another state that's not Nevada, not New York, they might not know what they're looking at the same way that the Nevada sanctioned judges do. Although those judges that are sanctioned in Nevada get it wrong too. So I wouldn't put too much of my handicapping on that.
John, let me ask you a couple of questions about college. Can college players do NIL deals with sports books?
Not that I'm aware of. I guess maybe I'm not the right person to ask. That might be more of a marketing thing. I'm not aware of a deal like that. And I'll tell you why I say no is because don't you think that would be like super popular? That's why I say no. Like I feel like one of these sports books would have snapped up like a guy from my alma mater, Caleb Williams, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at USC, or that LSU female gymnast, Livy. She'd probably be doing FanDuel ads and making millions of dollars by now.
Hey, John, the only reason Gary asked you that, he's got 1 year of eligibility left. Even at 60, and he wants to do a deal with SuperBook.
Well, I could point you in the right direction of that. That's a marketing deal.
Which actually brings me to my next question. When you talk about college sports, what about the non-revenue sports like baseball, softball, lacrosse? Do you guys take bets on those sports?
Yeah, absolutely we do. We do. Actually, this year, the College World Series was really good for business. We wrote a lot of money on it. We did well to LSU winning. You mentioned softball. We'll just do the Women's College World Series. for the softball. We don't do it the rest of the season. And lacrosse, obviously very popular in the DC, Virginia, Maryland area. We do the Final Four in the championship game over Memorial Day weekend. So when it's not football, it's not basketball, you just want to book stuff you think you're going to get action on. You got to make it worth your while.
Yeah. John, let me ask you a baseball question. You take a team like the Orioles, for instance, okay? I think most people thought they were going to have a pretty good year this year, just based off how they finished last year. But still, at the end of the day, they're the second lowest payroll team in the major leagues. I think only the Oakland Athletics have a lower payroll than the Orioles do. Question is, how do you, what were their odds at the beginning of the season? What are their odds now? And how do you handle that when you've got low salary teams who surprise, like the Indians and the Reds, for instance? All of a sudden, middle of the year, they're right in contention to win their divisions.
Well, we underestimated the Orioles is the short answer. We thought maybe they were another year or two away from seriously competing for a pennant. I still think the guy that's going to be the best Orioles player is not even in the major league roster yet. I'm talking about Jackson Holiday. So I've been very surprised by them. We got them right now at 12-1 to win the World Series, 6-1 to win the pennant. I think before the season started, it was more like 50 or 60-1. It wasn't because we thought the Orioles were going to be good. We did, but we thought that division was too tough for that young team. Of course, we thought the Yankees were going to be better than they've been. Sure. We thought the Rays would be good. We thought Toronto, Boston, we figured to be a solid team. So we didn't think there was going to be enough room for them to grow this year in that AL East. And we thought they were too young and maybe didn't have enough starting pitching to really contend for a World Series. We do see them coming, though. The Orioles are a team we've been talking about for the last couple of years, saying, look out for how good these guys are going to be. And we always thought of them as a team contending for a World Series. We just thought it was going to be more like 2025, 2026. I think the Orioles are clearly ahead of schedule. They're having an incredible year.
We're talking with John Murray. He's one of the odds makers at SuperBook.com, the sports book, the official sports book of the Baltimore Orioles. And John, you're hanging with us for a couple more minutes. I got to do a commercial for one of our sponsors. You're from Virginia. Do you eat Maryland-style crabs, steamed crabs?
I did while I was in Maryland.
All right. Well, next time you come in, we got to get you out to the Costas Inn, located at 4100 North Point Boulevard. Really a mainstay for crab eaters in the state of Maryland and visitors that come across the borders of Delaware and Pennsylvania and Virginia. The Costas Inn, they've been at the same location for over 50 years. They do it right. But one thing as a customer, if you're planning to eat crabs, the days of walking into a crab house like the Costas Inn and expecting them to automatically have the number of crabs you want, that ain't happening. You need to call them in advance, 410-477-1975. Get the odds on your side by calling first.
Very nice.
Did you see what I did there, John?
I did.
Yeah,
I got
very impressive. Very impressive. Hey,
good read.
As much as I love to talk about baseball and sports betting on baseball, we're just about less than a week away from Ravens training camp opening up, and the Terps football team has a lot of excitement in the air. Can you tell us a little bit how you see those two teams, the Maryland Terrapins team, like an over-under on wins, and the Terps? Not officially like that that people can go get it tonight, but where do you see those teams this year?
Well, we have Maryland, we have the Maryland win total up. We've got it up at 7, -110 either way. And we actually like them. We like them a little bit over this season. We've been specifically writing bets on the under because we think the Terps have a good chance to go over that win total of 7. We think they can win 8 or more games. Big Ten is a tough conference, but I do think that Maryland, I think the schedule sets up pretty well for them. They've been recruiting well. There's a lot of talent in that area. So, we do like Maryland a little bit this year, maybe to be a surprise team in the Big Ten.
So you guys have taken notice of not just Maryland's win total the last couple of years going up, but also the talent level, how much better talent is coming in there under Mike Locksley.
You know what you're looking at when you do these win totals. The main thing you're looking at is the schedule.
Okay.
Nowadays these conferences have so many teams. You got to look and say, who are they playing? Who are they not playing this season? And then you're also looking at who's coming back, which is harder now with the transfer market. And then, of course, you're looking at the recruiting. But, Maryland, not saying that we think they could realistically win the Big Ten. They are, in our opinion, they are still below the very top teams in the conference.
Yeah.
But they're a team on the rise. And there's some other teams in the Big Ten that maybe are falling back a little bit behind Maryland.
All right. How about the Ravens this year with the new offensive coordinator, Lamar Jackson getting his big contract, and by all intents and purposes, they're sort of opening up the offense for Lamar to have the keys to the Porsche, I guess.
Well, I thought the Lamar Jackson contract situation was one of the most interesting we've ever had in the NFL. It was a real, like obviously, if you have Patrick Mahomes, you resign Patrick Mahomes and you move forward, right? So it was interesting to see what the Ravens did there. I think they did make the right call. We've got them with a win total of 10 over -120. So meaning we think they're going to win 10, maybe 11 games this season. And that says a lot because they're in a very tough division. I think at the end of the season, Cincinnati may have been playing the best football in the NFL, and Baltimore should have won that wild card game in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They had the Bengals on the ropes. They should have won that game. Baltimore is such a well-coached team with so much talent in so many areas. There is no reason why they can't win the AFC North and why they can't make a push in the postseason. I think what works against them, though, guys, is the AFC. All the good quarterbacks are in the AFC now.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's only 7 positions in the playoffs. Cleveland's got a really good team. Very quietly, the Cleveland Browns have a lot of talent. And I always am going to expect Pittsburgh, as long as Mike Tomlin is there, to be a solid team. So that division is tough. Aaron Rodgers is now in the AFC. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to take a step forward for Jacksonville this season. And I look at Denver as another team that might be able to steal a wild card spot. I think people forgot how good the Broncos were or never got to see it because Hackett, that guy was in way over his head as a head coach. You should have never got a job like that. It was obvious within a couple of games they need to get rid of this guy. Well, they did. To their credit, they didn't hang on too long. They got rid of him. They brought in Sean Payton, who we respect a great deal. I think Denver's another team that might be able to take a playoff spot. So I like Baltimore. I think if they were in the NFC, they could be a Super Bowl contender. But in the AFC, how many teams can make the playoffs? 7. It's going to be really competitive.
One real quick thing about the New York Giants before you mentioned they're going to be pretty good. They're smart. What's going to happen with Saquon Barkley? I mean, is there a real chance he would sit out this year?
If the Giants are smart, they won't sign him to a huge contract extension. I mean, I hate to say it.
Yep.
I think Barkley's a great player, but it just seems like every time a team signs one of these running backs to a long extension, they end up regretting it big time. So I don't think the New York Giants should do that. I don't think they will. It's got to be the most interesting storyline of the season right now. I don't know what they can do right now. I mean, it's unfair to these guys. Maybe they should let running backs enter the NFL when they're a little younger. They simply don't have the shelf life of the quarterbacks or really any other position. And I think Saquon Barkley is going to be great in 2023. But if you sign him to a 5 or 6 year deal, no, I don't think he'll be much of a player by 2028. I'll be honest with you. I think history shows that he probably wouldn't be.
Yeah, I just think running back is just one of those positions. It's like a lot of wear and tear. I think the Giants aren't going to give him a long-term deal. He is going to show up. He's going to have a great year, and then after this year, he's gone, or maybe they try to franchise him again. But again, running backs just don't have a big shelf life. I mean, that's really the bottom line. John, let me ask you this: as far as the Ravens are concerned, and really all of the NFL, I know that you have odds on teams in terms of numbers of wins. But what about other bets? Like, are you putting odds on players for NFL MVP, for Rookie of the Year, things like that yet?
Yeah, we put that up this weekend. So we do have MVP, Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year. Those are markets we tread a little bit more lightly. I can tell you guys, Lamar Jackson, when he won the NFL MVP, that was ugly for us. We did really bad. We were really bad on that, man. We did really bad when Lamar Jackson won the Heisman. I think that was even worse. So those are markets where we tread lightly. The limits are a little bit lower. But yeah, we'll do that. We'll do Defensive Player of the Year. We'll have odds to make the playoffs, odds to win the Super Bowl, odds to win the division, the conference. There's a lot of different lot of different options. So if you're in Maryland, download the SuperBook Maryland app, go to the NFL, and you can see all of our different options there for the Ravens and everybody else.
John, how much do you take into consideration the team schedule? Like, for instance, specifically, the Ravens have 3 West Coast road trips this year, and they go to England to play the Titans. So even though, usually Seattle is one of the teams that has the most miles per year, but I think the Ravens are like right up there this year, second or third. So my question is, how much do you take that into consideration as far as win totals are concerned?
Well, it's definitely a concern. You're definitely looking for back-to-backs on the road. You mentioned having to go to Europe, having to go to London. There's no question that we're looking at that sort of stuff, because there's going to be some the teams are going to wear down a little bit if they have those schedules that are constantly having them fly all over the world. Yeah, we definitely look at that. And we look at their division. I mentioned it already, but Baltimore's in such a tough division. There's not going to be any free games in the AFC North. That's why it's tough, because I think Baltimore's probably better than a 10-win team, but you set their win total at 10 because of their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
John, before we let you go, what are people that are betting on football right now? Are they betting on games already, or are they betting on things like who's going to win the Super Bowl? At this time of year, what kind of football bets are you booking?
Well, the public bettors are betting on a team to win the Super Bowl. They want a team to win the Super Bowl, a team to win the conference. Your sharper bettors are mostly playing win totals. We mentioned the Terps are at 7, the Ravens are at 10. The season win total over-unders, very sharp markets. And some of the smarter players we have think they can get some edges on those. So
Yep.
we actually run a lot of money on bets like that, whereas the public, they'd be more interested in a bet like Maryland to win the Big Ten at 100-1. That's a big difference between the sharp player and the public player.
All right. Hey,
John,
the
let me ask one more.
The Orioles have just taken a 3-1 lead over the Tampa Bay Rays in the
There you
top
go.
of the 4th inning. Go ahead, Gary. One more question for John, and then we'll let him get out of here.
John, how much action do you guys get on preseason football?
Oh, that's a great question. And people are shocked. It's an incredibly sharp market. It's such a sharp market that actually when we do our forecast for August, I lower our projected hold percentage to the bosses upstairs, because I know we're not going to do it well on preseason NFL. The wise guys, they get the information. This team's going to play their starters into the 3rd quarter. This team doesn't care about the game. They're not going to send anybody out there. Very, very sharp market. We do write probably more money than I wish we did on preseason NFL. People are just so excited to have the NFL back. They'll even bet on the Hall of Fame game, which is basically a bunch of guys that are not going to actually play in the NFL. But once the NFL, we're almost at the end of the dog days of summer around here, because the preseason's right around the corner, and then we'll get into real football soon after that.
Hey, Gar, if you listen to John tonight, well, let's take out the violins. Let's see. They got killed on Lamar Jackson. They got killed on the Orioles. Yeah, so it must be SuperBook must be an easy place to make money.
Let's go, baby.
Well, hold on now. The SuperBook loves the Baltimore Orioles. We love the Baltimore Orioles.
No, I don't mean not the love. The people are beating the hell out of you. So you must
right.
Well, Lamar Jackson was at Louisville for that first. Yeah. But the point is, Lamar Jackson's a guy we have underestimated, and we paid for it. And yes, I want people to feel bad for us. Of course I do.
All right. Hey, John, this is hopefully the first visit of many. We'll look forward to working with you guys over at SuperBook, and thanks for taking our questions tonight. All right.
Yes,
Thanks, appreciate
you guys have a good night.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Gary, you hang with me for just a second. Thanks, John. Boy, that was an interesting chat with him.
It sure was. And I really like the way that you guys talked early. You get a different vibe from Sportsbook than you do from the other ones because of that personal connection, and I just think it's a totally different experience.
The other guy, you weren't on with me. You were walking down the aisle with your daughter when I had Jay Cornegay on.
Right.
Jay answers questions just like Ken Zales used to, or still does on Twitter. If you tweet Jay Cornegay at SuperBook, he'll answer your questions. I can't imagine any of the bigger names are going to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, just a couple notes. Next Thursday, we've got Rob Ambrose on with us. On August 10th, we've got our sports business guys, and I think that'll be a fascinating discussion with all these teams being sold and the A's moving. Looks like they're moving to Vegas and all that. So that'll be an interesting talk. I'm trying to get a hold of John Kelly to get him on before the bike classic, the cycling classic. We've got Sandy Siegel coming up right before their big prostate
Run. Yep. The
and run
5K.
walk. So we got a lot of stuff going on. All right.
Yeah. Let's keep on doing it.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll see you
Again,
this
we
weekend.
thank the folks at AJ Michaels Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Home Performance, and of course, our friends at the Costas Inn. For Gary Stein, I'm Stan the Fan, and we'll see you down the road.
You got it.